we're doing this. All right. Hello, everyone. I know it takes a second for things to actually get going.
Yeah, today Tiffany did sprints and she had a countdown. It's okay.
She's fancy with that stuff. I know she always has this fancy countdown going. And I'm just awesome. All right, are we live? Are we actually going? It looks like we are. We have 2 people watching so far. So woohoo! But hello, everyone. I'm sure more people will join in a few minutes. I didn't even post that we were about to go live. So if any of you guys want to post that we're now live, that's cool with me. But yeah, we are here for our final live show for the Folk of the Air Readalong, which is crazy that we've read, what is it, 5 books? 5 books together? And another novella. I always forget about the Lost Sisters, but everybody does. And yeah, this has been so much fun doing this read along with you guys and with you all in the comments as well. Hello.
Hey, Monica.
What was I going to say? But yeah, we're here to talk about the brand new book. So obviously we're all first time readers. And I do have a feeling that I'll probably feel a bit differently about this book upon reread. I'm probably gonna reread it before The Prisoner's Throne comes out, and I'll probably feel a little bit differently just because of we've talked about this before, just how intentional Holly Black is, and I'm sure there's a lot of foreshadowing and stuff that I missed, that we all missed, reading this book for the first time and stuff. But I thought we would just kind of go into general thoughts. Now, obviously, nobody's rereading this, but this was just an old banner that I had from last week's live show. But, if you guys want to leave comments of what your general thoughts are, what your star rating was, all of that. And I guess we can go around and do the same thing. So, Melissa, what are your general thoughts?
It was interesting. I really liked seeing Surin's progression throughout the story, and she really I was trying to draw parallels between her and Jude, and how different they were raised, and Jude, Jude was obviously raised in Fairyland, in Elfame, and then Surin was wanted to be raised in the human world, and so it's kind of fun to see those, and then just to see her progression and then everything that happened at the end with what she did, and I was just oh, okay, I get it. I give it 4.5.
4.5? Cool.
Yeah. So.
All right, Christy, what about you?
So I really liked it. I kind of liked how it was different than the other series. It wasn't pulling away or even really adding more to Jude and Carden. I kind of liked that we just kind of let them be over there. And I was surprised that this wasn't following Oak, because I thought this was going to be Oak's POV. So it kind of threw me off in the beginning. But I really liked it. I really loved Ren as a character, or Surin, whatever, And yeah, I just liked the adventure. I kind of liked that this was a road trip instead of the political intrigue and all of that court intrigue that the, original trilogy was. And when I ended it, I think I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, but I couldn't decide which way I was going to round up or down.
Yeah.
And then I decided to round up because I was did I have any issues with it? I feel like I didn't. I just liked their journey and the story.
Yeah. Cool. So Chandler, what do you think about it so far?
So for those who didn't know, I didn't finish it because I got halfway through. I can tell you right now, it's definitely not going to be 5 stars for me.
Yeah.
I don't like road trip stories. I don't like adventure tales. That doesn't really thrill me. Yeah. And I think the beginning half has been too slow. I feel like we're finally starting to turn a corner, and I'm finally starting to care a little bit more. But I definitely liked the court intrigue more from the original series. But I do like the characters. I think there's maybe a little bit more nuance to both Oak and Ren as compared to Jude and Carden. Love them, but I think the nuance is interesting. Yeah, I think that's it for me for now.
Yeah, you bring up some really interesting points about Surin and Oak, like, I don't know, there's something that's still mysterious about both of their characters where I feel like I don't know, like Jude is who she is, you know, and Carden we were trying to figure out because we never got his POV and stuff. But Surin, even though like it's in her POV, it's like, do we really know who she is? Like, I don't even think she knows who she is. Like, you know, it's just very, very mysterious in that way. And so I gave this 4 stars. I liked it. I really liked it for the most part. My general thoughts are that, yeah, the pacing is slow at first, and it's kind of like, well, what is even happening here? Like, what? Like, there were 2 thoughts that were going in my mind throughout really this entire reading experience. I was like, do I care about these characters? And the answer to that is still no. But I love Holly Black's writing. You know, and my other thought that kept popping in my head was, did this story need to be told? And I think the answer is no. So, you know, like, I think if her writing wasn't as amazing as I think it is, I definitely would have given this a lower rating. It's just, you can't help but keep reading. There's something about her writing that is just compulsively readable. So I just don't know. It's certainly a really good setup for the next book. And I think the next book is going to be better. I hope it's better. But I'm with you, Chandler. I'm not a huge fan of quest stories and road trip stories. You know, that's not my thing. You know, I'm going to look at some comments here.
Yeah, I love a good quest. So
me too.
So we're divided here.
And see, I thought the pace was actually really fast paced. I felt like it grabbed my attention from the beginning, and I felt like it was faster paced and moving than maybe like The Queen of Nothing was for me.
Gotcha. And then Monica, I read it directly after my reread, so I loved it. Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really glad I reread the original trilogy before going into this, because I would have been like, what? Who are these people? What is happening? You know? And Erica, I watched your blog today. She posted a reading blog of no spoilers, but I like agreed with everything that she said. Hey girl. Hey how are you?
I'm good. Sorry that I'm late. My siblings were arguing, so I had to play referee a little bit. I was like, shut up! My live show's about to start.
We thought you were finishing the book.
Okay, you know what? That too.
But yeah, Erica, I agree with your comment. Yeah, I agree. But I just I just loved Holly Black's writing. And I think for the most part, the pacing was consistent. It was pretty steady. But sometimes it felt a little bit slow as well. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. This is a new story. This is a new side of the world. This is a new everything. So, and it's just a very different vibe. It's like a totally different feeling from the original book. So, Samantha, what are your general thoughts?
You know what? I did see a lot of comments on Goodreads, basically people comparing it to the first series, which of course you're going to. I think I actually liked it better than the first series. So the thing is the political dynamics in the first series was interesting, but I'm not a plot-based girly. Like, I'm definitely a character-driven person. So the more adventure plot that was more character-focused, and they spent so much more time, in this one book, they spent more time together than Jude and Carden did in all 3 books.
Yes.
Yeah. So I give it a 4.5 star, very close to a 5 star.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay. I'm glad that we all enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I gave it 4 stars still. I definitely didn't hate it by any means. And it was better than Book of Night.
Yes.
I've seen so many people give that 2 stars.
Yes.
Man, people do not like that book. So
that one honestly felt like a different writer than what I've been reading of this whole series.
Really?
For me, yeah. That was the first Holly Black that I read.
I've read it.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a very different vibe. It's a very different story.
Yeah.
I just feel like Holly Black is just amazing at writing these fairy stories. And maybe when she branches out from that, like, she doesn't quite know what to do. Maybe.
Yeah. Did she write the Book of Night first before?
No, that's
no.
That one was just like what, last year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I agree. I am still excited for the second book. I think it's going to be very interesting. Like, I feel like Erica brought up a really interesting point in her reading vlog that she kind of felt like this entire book was just a setup for The Prisoner's Throne. And I kind of agree. It did kind of feel like just like a whole big old setup for like a main story. And in some ways to me, you know?
I could see that.
So what do we want to discuss? Do we want to discuss characters, the plot, or just, I don't know, just whatever you guys want to bring up?
Someone mentioned his hooves again.
Yes.
Monica! Monica!
That was like in every live show. I saw someone on Goodreads rate it lowly because they had said like it was difficult for them to how do I say it? It was difficult for them to see Oak as a romantic hero because we knew him like as a wee child. So they were were thinking of him as this young kid, and then all of a sudden he's like this seductive hero. So I was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of fair, but I feel like we didn't get that much of him in the first 3 books or the last series.
And I feel like they've never read a like second generation romance series. Then like we get that all the time. Like, where have you been?
Where have you been? Oh my god!
Like literally, someone said that to me when I was reading, I think Ignite from Melanie Harlow. So like the second book in her new Cloverleaf Farm series, and they were like, "How can you like this heroine? Like she is the daughter. Like you saw her as a child." And I'm like, "Ma'am, she's not a child anymore. Like let's move on."
Well, that, and it's not like you see them. It's a
yes.
book. And they're like cute for like 5 seconds here and there, and that's it. Like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, right. Exactly. Like, no, it doesn't bother me by any means. I think Holly Black could have gone a few different directions with his character all grown up. I like the direction she decided to go in. Again, you know, we don't know too much about him. He's not the POV character. So we're just seeing him through Surin's eyes. And it's very interesting, these little facets of his personality that he definitely got from Matic, or he definitely got from Jude, or he definitely got from maybe Taryn, or, you know, these different people that we all know so well because of the original trilogy. Like the thing that pops into my mind is how he just like, he becomes like a killer. Like he has this like weird like bloodlust that like takes over him. Like he doesn't know, like Surin said something like, or Tiernan said something like, he doesn't know how to fight for show. All he knows is how to kill somebody. Yeah. So like when that weird duel happened, like, oh, oops, okay, that person's dead now. Like, you know.
But then he was
also like, and he talks about assassination plots on him.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, go.
No, go. You.
That's all I was gonna say. Like he talks about like there's been assassination plots on him. Like I'm assuming in years we haven't seen, you know. So I thought that was interesting.
And I thought it was interesting with the whole like him wanting the like he loved stories and like that they were, you know, and it talked about Locke and like how Locke just loved to make these crazy things happen. And he was like, well, we are half brothers.
Yeah.
True.
There are little facets of his personality that are just a teensy bit like Locke, I think. Both were set up. I've never thought of the Cruel Prince as just like a setup, but I could see how you could see it that way. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Because of where we end up by the end of this book, I'm like, oh, wait, okay, now I feel like the real story is about to happen, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, Monica, you and your Terran hate. Samantha's favorite character, right?
Just waiting literally for her to die. I was like, maybe something terrible happens to her.
Oh my God.
It's a hope. It's a wish. It's a dream.
It's your live stream. So what do we think of Surin? What do we think of her character?
I really like her. I think she's fascinating.
Yeah. She's very
like
similar to Jude in the sense that she's like always on edge, always like preparing for the worst. She's never really been shown any type of love, but I feel like her story is a little more tragic than Jude's is.
Oh, for sure. Like that whole changeling child thing in the prologue was just like so interesting.
Yeah, her backstory is very intriguing.
Like how she even came to be.
Yeah, and like even just at the beginning of like seeing her just like kind of stalking her like unfamily, and like, oh man, the Court of Teeth in general is just horrifying, like absolutely horrifying. There were parts of this book where I was like, are we like in a horror novel almost? Like, oh my God. Like
with the bridle, like invisibly like digging into your skin and stuff. I was like, oh my God.
There were a lot of descriptions of things happening in this book that I was like, oh, we're going there. We may not have gone there in the first trilogy or whatever, but we're going there now.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too. I think one of y'all said that like you thought she was similar to Jude. I think she's like kind of the opposite, which I like.
Yeah.
She wanted to like stay in the human world. She liked the people that she was living with. And I think like her character has a little bit more nuance than Jude's. She doesn't fully like want to help Oak. She doesn't like fully want to be in the full world. But she's also not like, is it Vivi or whatever? She's not like, oh, I just love like, you know, bubblegum and being at the mall. So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting in that way.
Yeah, there's like a couple of callbacks to Jude's character that I underlined in here. Like at one point, Surin, this is when Surin gets caught like trying to get on the bus and leaving. And she's like, I'm angry, but I'm mostly angry at myself. Jude says something like that at some point, probably numerous times throughout the trilogy. So there's things like that are like really interesting little callbacks. And then I agree, like there's, Surin definitely is like her own unique character. But yeah, I just haven't figured her out yet. I feel like I just need more time with her, even though I had a whole book in her POV.
Yeah.
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 I kind of love, this was kind of iconic to me that like Matic of all people inspired her to, because he basically was just like, take what you want. Like, it doesn't matter if you're worthy of it, if you're deserving of it, just like take it, you know? And I kind of love that had an interesting effect on Surin.
Yeah, Maddox said something in that scene. He was like, I may be bad, but my advice is not. And I was like, I actually love Maddox. Like, I think he's my favorite character. I know he like kills people, like whatever. But like, I'm like, no, I love him.
I like the role that he played in this story. He didn't have a huge role, but I do like that he made a little comeback. Yeah, God, family.
When she called back though, and like her mom said, we've been looking for you. I wanted to know you were okay. My heart, that made me more sad than the beginning scene.
Yeah, that did make me really sad. That I didn't think that they were gonna remember her. I don't know. I thought that they were gonna like that Lady Nor and Lord Gerald would have put some kind of enchantment on them to where they wouldn't even remember her. And so when they picked up the phone and they were like, Ren, I'm like, wait, what is going on right now? Yeah, that was really sad. Yeah,
that's so true.
And again, that's kind of a callback to seeing Jude in the original trilogy talking with Fae and dealing with Fae and stuff. Like I definitely got like a similar vibe that like because Surin is so attached to the mortal world, she also she does know how to talk to Fae, but there's also some points where she clearly doesn't know what she's doing, and she like because there's a quote where she said something like, I've never had to be a part of a world like this. I've always just observed.
Yeah.
Right? So again, yeah, that translates with like into how she would deal with like certain people and certain situations, similar to how Jude would have to deal with certain people in certain situations.
Yeah. It was interesting to see like how they had completely different experiences or different point of views of the same experience. Like Oak was like, I cried for days and would not eat anything when they made you leave. And she was like, he's so happy when I left. Like he didn't even stop the guards or anything. So it's interesting to see like how they were able to have such different point of views.
Yeah. And I like that we got a couple flashbacks of them when they were children or when they were in their early teen years. I think that was definitely necessary. And I think we're probably going to get a couple more flashbacks in the next book as well, just because I think that really builds these characters really well.
Well, like when he saw her that time, like when he was a teenager in the forest and stuff like that, they talk about like, it's like, oh, they've seen each other more than in the previous book when we saw them.
Right, exactly. We all expected that their only connection was with nothing. And then now we're seeing, oh, there were points where they did see each other beyond that.
Yeah.
I feel like Jude was a bowling ball in a china shop. There were just some conversations in this book. And like because like that whole situation, in the end where Surin takes control of Lady Nor, for instance, it definitely gives me vibes of when she was like controlling Cardan, or when towards the end of like The Cruel Prince, when she was trying to navigate that whole situation of like how they were gonna ruin Baelkin's plans and how they were gonna get at first Oak to get the crown, and then of course Cardan ends up getting like it. So in some ways it reminds me of that, but obviously they're two very different people. Ren is definitely more she is more thoughtful and she's more careful, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. Let me think about this. So why was she with that family at first?
In the first book
Founder
series, they mentioned like that they put changelings into the human world, not so much as protection for them, but I mean people are like battling for the crown, so they're basically there until there's use for them, so that no one else can use them, like put poison in their ear or try to assassinate them before they eventually are old enough to be used for the crown. I think that's what I thought, because that's what they said in the first series.
Right, and she was She was found as a toddler. Yes, and there's also with Surin specifically, her use was so that Lady Nor and Lord Gerald could crown her as queen and get away with not swearing fealty to the King of Elfame.
Yeah. And then she has no ways of protecting herself. She doesn't know the magic or anything. So she's just a pawn for them to use because she's so, she lived so many years in the human world. But also people didn't know she existed.
Yes.
What did you guys think of like how she was born? Like the story of them creating her from like sticks and snow and magic?
I liked that.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
That whole little scene, and then when like again with the horrifying things, the creatures that Lady Nor was creating, the like stick creatures, but they also had like body parts. I'm like, what is this? What is happening right now? So it's interesting how she ended up being kind of like one of those creatures. and I found it interesting, the whole story behind Mob's bones, her remains.
Yeah.
And then Melith's heart.
Yeah.
Again, those were like little fairy tales that
Yeah.
there were a couple characters that like told us those stories, like those little backstories.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
I liked
Yeah,
it.
I thought it was interesting, the whole like that she was made with an ancient heart thing, like how that's going to play in going forward.
Yes. Yeah. I will say there was a point in the book where I was like, I think it was around the point where Oak said something like, "Oh, I have Melith's heart." I was like, well, then it's got to be her somehow.
Mhm.
It's got to be Surin, But I just kept reading, and I was like, oh, who knows what the, And so then when it actually ended up playing out like that, I was like, okay. I thought that was a solid plot twist.
Yeah.
That was really well done. What do we think of how Oak played into all of that? Like, do we think that he was ever using her? Like, do we think like all of that with the Court of Teeth, and he obviously he knew who she really was.
Yeah.
I feel like he's like, to me with this book, I felt like Oak is more of kind of a mystery of like, what is he up to? What is he doing? Was he using her? Like, so I'm not too sure about like what he's doing.
Yeah. And I don't know, in some ways he's kind of a neutral character to me. Again, we just don't get enough of him. And I kind of, I don't really know what to think of him at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I like his character, but I definitely don't think he's as I don't know, in some ways he's had to become brutal and cutthroat, but in other ways I don't think that he has like the same kind of malicious intent as a lot of other characters in this world or in this story.
Yeah, I don't think he was intentionally like using her or with the intent to play her. I feel like in his mind it was more so like he was confident that he was going to be able to have it all, like all the plans were going to work in his favor. So I don't really think that he had an intent to use her.
Yeah. And then I feel bad for him at the very end. I don't know. I was like, oh, poor little Oak. Like,
romantic.
He's just been taken captive now. Like, okay.
Not only taken captive, bridled.
Yeah, I know. I was like, ooh, oh no. Reminds me just a teensy bit of, Jude getting the crown put on Cardan. But obviously it's not as controlling. But yeah, there's a teensy bit of like that gotcha moment.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
Yes.
With the High King and with Cardan and Jude in the second book, how her taking him, because she said she wants to be like on good terms with them, but you just took
the Heir.
Yeah.
Right. Well, my question to you guys too is, what do y'all think about how inactive Jude specifically and Cardan a bit are so far in this story? I find it a little bit unbelievable that Jude wouldn't be the one to like try to destroy Lady Nor. Like, like she's got to know what kind of at least what she's up to, and that she stole Mob's remains and like she's doing her thing in the Court of Teeth. And I don't know. I find it a little bit odd that Jude wouldn't be, I don't know. And then obviously she doesn't really care about Maddox, but she does care about Maddox.
She does.
So, she's taken him prisoner and she's doing all these things and she's got Mob's bones and she wants the heart and all of this. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
I feel like although plot-wise it has some holes, I feel like it was intentional by Holly Black to prevent people from comparing, their story, or to see this as like a fourth book, as an extension to that trilogy, that keeping them separate in the first book allowed Oak and Seren to like have their own story, their own moment. Because I feel like if you would have brought Jude and Carden in, it would have overtaken the story a little bit. Like people are just, we are already, they weren't even in this story, and we are comparing them because that's just what we're gonna do. But yeah, I think that was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, that was just a little bit unbelievable to me. I was just like, I don't know, the Jude that we know would once again take over the situation, and like she has to know what's going on. Maybe not as much as maybe Oak knows, because I feel like Oak's been doing some like research and stuff like on his own. He's been doing some like maybe reconnaissance on his own with like Tiernan and like his little posse. But yeah, I think you're right though that they needed to be in the background. Maybe they'll play a more active role in the next book.
Yeah. But it is shocking too, like his other sisters and like Maddox's wife, like none of them joined him. Like that part is weird too.
Yeah, maybe they've all settled down in their old age. It's been like what, 8 or 9 years?
8 years.
Retired.
Right. Something that did cross my mind, because like a big theme in this book is just how Oak never wants to be king, and it's brought up just briefly about how Jude and Carden haven't had any heirs yet, and I'm like, I just like don't see them ever wanting to have kids. I don't see Jude, like I don't know, like I feel like they're so obsessed with each other. Like I'm not surprised that in 8 years they have not had kids, does not surprise me in the least.
And I feel like Carden would be like, I don't want your attention on literally anyone else but me. Even if it's my own child.
Yeah, she's my favorite. I think she's a lot of people's favorite, right? And maybe that's another reason why I'm not blown away by this story, is just like, for me, like Jude quickly became like everything when I read The Cruel Prince like a few years ago. That Jude is that's the thing too, is like Jude is such a distinctive character. And Seren, she is a distinctive character too, but I think because she is more also kind of more low key, because like somebody else commented, like, Jude's kind of a bowling ball in a china shop. And maybe that's one of the reasons why I love her so much, is like she's just so distinctive in my mind. But Carden's your favorite? I mean, fair. That's totally fair. I would never have kids. Girl, I wouldn't either. If I lived in that kind of over there, like, hell no, I'm not gonna have kids.
Did they ever say why the Undersea was failing or something like that? Because they had mentioned like the queen was losing power and the daughter wasn't as powerful or something. I feel like that was mentioned and then like gone.
That was mentioned like twice, maybe. Yeah, because then remember we had that little scene with Leona. She's one of the mermaids, and she brought it up again too. But like, I think that's got to be more of a major theme in the second book, because I think that was just like a couple of little breadcrumbs, but they didn't explain specifically what that means.
Right.
I just think that that's gonna maybe play into some kind of war in the next book or something, because I feel like shit's gonna go down now that Seren has Oak, and I think that maybe the Undersea will also play a role like they did in the first trilogy.
Yeah, because the Undersea was an ally to Carden after everything happened. So if they're weak, then that's like a moment of opportunity to start a war.
Yeah.
Which, like, maybe the other characters are off doing like another part, you know what I mean? And they're gonna like come together in the second book.
Marvel.
Oh, that would be really
different places. For the snap. I don't know why I thought of that.
That would be really cool, though. I do like. I remember, earlier in this book, like when Hyacinth leaves the story, I'm like, okay, well, there's going to be a moment then when he's going to come back,
Mm-hmm.
In some kind of way to help Surin, and then he did.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting the ability to break curses.
Her ability is so interesting to me.
Yeah, because we didn't know that when we saw her before, right?
No.
No, that's something that's explored right at the beginning of the book when she's been like observing these humans making deals with the glass tig or something. And she like has been breaking those little curses, and then like over the course of the story, she's like breaking bigger and bigger curses and stuff. So it's like interesting. Her ability is to negate magic.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if I've seen too many characters with that kind of ability before in like a fantasy story. I find it interesting how Holly Black has like, in the original trilogy, Jude, someone who didn't have magic until she has a little bit now as the High Queen, but we were following a human in this like fantastical world, and now we're following someone who does have magical abilities, but it's to take something away from something.
Yeah. And she says like she hasn't practiced her magic enough, or she wasn't really allowed to like discover how powerful she is. So I'm curious to see like how that grows within the second book.
Yeah, like glamour herself.
Yeah.
I like the side characters so far. I think that again, we just need to see more of them for me to like really like them and to like really be invested in them. They're not the Court of Shadows, like those are more distinctive characters in my mind, but obviously we had 3 books to get attached to them and stuff. So again, I'm interested to see like how also those characters are gonna play a role in the next book.
Yeah, because Oak had that like whole crew with him, like the Kelpie and what was the other character? Hyacinth,
Tiernan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Hob, what was his name? Titch or something? They mentioned his name later in the book, and I was like, oh wait, he has a name. But yeah. But yeah, like I feel like I don't have much to say about this book, Yeah. I just need more.
Yeah.
Form like a full opinion.
Yeah. But that's how I felt about the first series. I didn't really start getting into it until the second book. The second book was my favorite. The first book I was like, it's fine. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. Like it was just okay.
Yeah. I think that upon a reread, especially like once the second book's out, that will really help, because I think that's part of why I enjoyed the first trilogy so much, is I literally read them back to back to back. There were,
right, yes.
Whereas this, it's like, it's not, because obviously we know it's a duology. It's not a complete story. I mean, it's a complete book on its own, but like the overall story isn't complete. So it's kind of like, what's next?
Yeah. Although what I will say for The Cruel Prince is that that book to me has so much more of a plot, whereas this one is just the quest and then the fight. We take a couple stops along the way. We meet some interesting characters and like the Court of Moths and the witch, the Fitch witch or something. I can't even remember. But whereas with The Cruel Prince, there were like distinctive like little blocks of plot and yeah. But this one felt maybe not meandering, but again, it was just one quest. Like that's what the whole story was, So I'm again just interested to see like there's got to be a more dynamic plot going on in The Prisoner's Throne, for sure. And this is just a duology, right? It's not going to be a trilogy. It's just going to be the 2.
That's what it says so far. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to like wrap everything up in not everything up, but like, you know, wrap up this storyline in one book, whereas we had 2 books to wrap things up for the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do we have anything else to talk about?
I think that's it.
I think that's really it too. Like there's really, like I don't have any more thoughts. My lasting impression was just like how horrifying the Court of Teeth actually is, and like, oh my god, like the descriptions of like Lady Nora's room and like people and things being frozen into the walls, and like, oh my god, the scene with her tongue.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. I was not prepared at all. I was like, what is happening right now? What is going on? Jeez.
That's what I'm really interested. Like that'll be really interesting in the future books, is to see how powerful she truly is.
Yes.
Because she literally says to Lady Nora, "I wish you were dead." And the bitch drops dead. Like,
that's true.
like, was that just because of what she had, the power she had over her, or is that her actually like her real power? Like,
I feel like it was kind of a combination of the two, because at that point she was just like unleashing her power everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, yes, she was commanding her, but also it was just described as like she like splattered. Like it must have been something that Surin did. She like willed, you know. So I agree. I feel like there's going to be more to Surin, both as a character and her abilities. I think there's also more, even more than meets the eye with Oak. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see like how they grow. And
yeah, for sure. For sure, he's gonna somehow take the crown, because he made that promise to the Fitch Witch.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, whatever you want, because I'm never taking the crown."
I was like, "You're gonna be it."
The way like she knew something or saw something he didn't. I was like, okay, he's definitely taking the crown in this series.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When she said she already saw like his future and stuff, so she's like, "You're gonna give me whatever. The first thing I request, you have to give me once you're king."
Yes, that's definitely going to come into play in the next book. So I don't know if it's going to end up being a situation where, like, for some reason Cardan abdicates or like what, but yeah, because again, like every time a character in this world makes some kind of prediction or says something like that thing's gonna come to pass.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But then they can't kill Jude and Cardan, so I'm like, I don't know what they're gonna do with that. But
yeah, I don't know, right? Like, I don't know if it's gonna be a situation where like Cardan's like, I'm over this, or like being king, or like,
yeah,
it's definitely not like she wouldn't kill them off, but like, there's gotta be something where he does take the throne because of that whole situation of her being like, you have to give me the first thing I request when you take the throne.
So they might just have to like step down for a bit to like let some other things play out, you know?
There's gotta be a situation where he ends up being the king in the next book, because we have to see that play out, where whatever.
Or with Surin being able to break curses, like she could just negate that anyways, you know?
Oh.
Would it be the same because
yeah, well, like whatever she asks of him, maybe, like, you know what I mean?
Oh, I see.
Like whatever the request is.
Yeah. Maybe. All I know is that deals are tricky in fairy, so I mean, she's obviously gonna request something that's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people underestimated Oak in this book. Like even Surin, she's like, "Oh, he doesn't know how to fight because he's a spoiled prince." I'm like, Maddox was literally his dad. Like, of course, he knows how to fight.
Right. Look who his dad is. Look who his family is. Look, like Jude is his sister too. Like,
he's literally insane.
And he was also influenced by the Court of Shadows. We see that he learned some things from the Roach.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got all these very interesting influences in his life. I thought that scene was like pretty iconic though, when he just like let that ogre punch him, and then he's like, "Okay, we'll duel," and then he just like killed him, just took him out. But yeah, I feel like a lot of people just underestimate him. And so again, I want to see him become more iconic in the next book. Oh, a scene I really liked that I keep forgetting about is the scene when Oak was like brushing Surin's hair.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
I really liked that scene. That was so cute. It's like the one really precious moment between the two of them that I really like. Because I will say, at the moment, I'm not sold on their romance. I'm kind of indifferent, but I really liked that scene. That was really sweet.
Yeah, and then he stole that hairpin, or not stole, but took it back, the hairpin he bought her.
I loved that moment too. Yeah. Yeah.
And she kept the little toy that she had from him for so many years.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that we got some of those like really cute moments for them, because otherwise we didn't get too much of their romance, you know. But that's also what happened in the previous trilogy too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that it's gonna build more. But the scenes that we did get were really precious. Yeah. All right. Are we donezo with this discussion?
One.
Because like I can't think of anything else that I would want to discuss, you know. But this read along was so much fun.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being co-host with me. This was my first time putting together something like this, so I think it went pretty well.
Yes.
Yeah. I am considering doing a read along later in the year for the Diviners series by Liva Bray. But other than that, like I don't really have any like concrete plans for series that I want to do read alongs for. So if you guys have any ideas, like in the comments, let me know. I love doing rereads of my favorite YA series. I love revisiting these worlds, these characters and stuff. I feel like that's like been the theme for 2023 so far, because I know some of our friends are doing like the Vampire Academy read along, which I love that series as well. But yeah, this was so much fun. I'm so glad I reread these books. They're just so iconic.
Yeah, I'm glad I finally read them for the first time.
Yeah. So Samantha, are you more interested in fantasy now?
I don't think so. This was good. This was really, really good, but I feel like it was just a little like, I don't know if I would read another fantasy.
I think a fantasy, like a true fantasy romance, would sell you on it.
That's true. I agree with that. I mean, yeah. I feel like I'd have to pick specific books to recommend to you.
I don't know. I feel like my taste in reading has just become like so like niche that like I don't feel like just like, I'm looking for different things that I'm like every time someone talks about a fantasy romance, I'm like I don't know.
Here's the thing.
Fair.
I like fantasy and I like romance. Not often do I think they mix well. Sarah J. Maas, okay, she does a pretty good job. I like this series. I think it does a pretty good job. But like I really have not found an adult fantasy romance that I'm like, oh, this is fucking awesome. Like the romances are never very like interesting or nuanced or like I think what a romance reader likes. And I could be wrong. Like I do know there's people out there who like them, but from what I've noticed, the people who tend to like fantasy romance aren't typical romance readers. They're fantasy readers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. It is hard to find good adult fantasy romances.
Yeah, because for the first book, I think I even said it in one of the other live shows. I was like, I wasn't totally invested in their romance. I was more invested in the plot. And like this one, I was more interested in the characters, not so much the plot. So it's like, I feel like I haven't found one that does both for me. And like, honestly, it's not steamy enough for me. It is not.
This is YA. This is not. This is not.
But Samantha needs a polyamorous fantasy romance.
Yeah, maybe that will turn the tides for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like a lot of fantasy romance, I think it's very hard to strike a balance between the two, just because you have to do the world building, you have to do like all of that, and it still has to be an interesting plot, and it still has to be a good romance. I haven't read that many fantasy romance now that I'm talking about it, because I mean, really, the only ones I can name are like ACOTAR, and then I started the Rhapsodic series by Laura Thalassa. I really like that series so far, but that one's kind of more urban fantasy-ish, I would say. Yeah, I don't know.
The Grace Draven series fantasy? Radiance? Is that fantasy?
Oh yeah, Radiance.
Yeah. Okay, I like that one.
I did really like that one.
Yeah, that one's
the
fun.
thing about that one is that like it's not about the fantasy, it's about the romance. Like it's all characters all the time. I think I've read like 5 or 6 fantasy romances at this point. I would say Radiance is a good one. God, what's that one that just came out? It's like vampires.
Oh, the serpent one.
The Wings of Night one.
But yeah, I still have yet to find one that I think is like really great. Because like, here's the thing: do I like an alpha hero? Yes. Do I want the same repeat alpha hero in every single fantasy romance? No, it's just boring. Yeah. Like, give me something fresh.
Yeah, we need more variety, and you don't get a lot of. I agree with that. Yeah, fantasy romance. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot of alpha heroes, I think.
Yeah. Oh, Anastasia by Sophie Lark. That one when I did like, but that's Sophie Lark, so I feel like that's just a given.
Christy didn't like it.
I know. I'm like, yep. So I'm just nodding. Yep.
I haven't read it yet. I'm waiting for the audiobook because that book is long. But
yeah. I put it like on pause at like the 50% mark because it's just like so long. I'm sorry. Like I don't want like 50% of the book to be about a child. Like that's not really
understandable. That's honestly the whole reason I don't read Sarah J. Maas like Mariana Zapata, because I'm like, why are their books so long? Like they're ginormous for no reason. But Sophie Lark, that's just my girl. I feel like she could write about like trash, and I'd be like, yes.
I feel that.
That's fair, though. I'm trying to think of other fantasy romance that I want to read soon. I'm kind of interested in the what is it, like the Guild series?
No. Read carefully.
Okay, because I know some people really love it and then some people really don't.
So between Wrath and Mercy is
yes, I want to read that.
Yeah.
And the hero in that isn't a total alpha. Like, I mean, he is in a way, but he's not completely, because I don't want to spoil anything, but he's not a full like alpha whole Sarah J. Maas alpha hero. He's kind of got like those like sweet moments, and you're just like, oh, he's very spoony. That is.
I've heard that one. Yeah, I've heard it's amazing, and that they're like older characters
too.
Yeah. And the audio just came out for it like this week.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, because I plan on reading it next month.
All right. I'm gonna put this on my TV.
And like the what is her name? Like Mila Vane, like that. What is it? Heart of whatever. And
I've heard
read that one.
I haven't read that.
That one was good.
Okay, I know Jen really loves the first book in that series.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Oh, so what's the tea with the Guild series? Because I really don't know.
I don't think that I'm particularly sensitive to certain things. I don't have like a lot of triggers, but I found it a little unsettling. The assault that's like really early on in that book, it just like vibes were not right for me, but a lot of people seem to love that series, so just be careful.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of a polarizing series because I've seen a lot of people either really, really love it or like really, really don't. I think because of what you just brought up.
Yeah.
I read like the first 3 books in it, and I felt like it was fine, but like it wasn't interesting. Like it's very much a TikTok popular like fantasy. You know what I mean? Like it's it's that crowd. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm out. Like it just isn't for me. Like same with the Broken Bonds, like the Ties That Bind thing, like not for me. Like it's just less world and more TikTok popular. Like I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah. Speaking of TikTok popular, have y'all read Zodiac Academy? I haven't read them.
I read the first one.
What did you think of it?
It is so freaking corny. Like it's fun, but it is very TikTok-y. Like
Yes.
Unbelievably corny, in my opinion. Like, I don't think I've ever picked up a book and been like rolling my eyes so hard, but also like, okay, let's see what happens next. I just don't think that like anyone should commit to reading a series that is that long. I think the last couple of books are like 1,000+ pages, and the last one still hasn't come out yet. It just seems like the authors don't really have a lot of respect for their readers, and like that's something that I don't fuck with, and something that I probably should have brought up for this. I love Holly, I do, but this is an obvious cash grab. Like this junior like I respect it because get your coin. I would do the same. But also, it's like I have never really been a spinoff girly. Like I've never really been super into what happens after the last page. Like I don't care. I was good after Queen of Heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And like, let's be real. As much as I really enjoyed how the King of Elfame learned to hate stories, it's also a cash grab. Let's be real.
100%.
You know, yeah, that's totally fair.
I think that one specifically was like her just really being into Carden's Tale and like wanting to bring it up again. No, straight up, she's a freak. And I respect the hell out of it.
I respect that. Yeah.
You hear her talk about it, like she doesn't have to make the like high fae have animal characteristics. Like she goes out of her way to do that. She's into that.
True.
So not conjecture. She said that out loud. So
I can't with people just freaking out about the hooves. I'm like, I really don't care. Like,
I was like, out of all romances, I'm like, hooves? I don't.
Yeah, right. Out of all the monster romances we've all read. Oh man. Are there any other like fantasy romances that are on y'all's radar? I want to add more to my TBR because I want to see if I've done some that are like really for me.
I heard about one today on Tiffany's live show.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Fairytale. It's like a gothic, dark fantasy romance.
Okay. Interesting.
Let me see who it was. I don't remember who it was by, but it's a chunky boy. It's like 780 pages.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a long book. All right. But it's got a high rating. It's called Fairydale.
Dale, okay.
Like Riverdale, I don't know.
Okay.
By Veronica Lancet.
Is it like thing?
What?
No, it's not. No. Thinking out loud. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I feel like I've seen this cover.
I like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know who posted it, but I've seen this.
Looks like it's historical because it says 1955.
Count
it
me
says
out.
this is not a traditional love triangle. So there you go.
Like, they end up all together?
Right, listen,
Is that what?
Samantha said, "You got my attention now." Okay, now I'm intrigued. I've never heard of this, but it has high ratings.
The only one I had on my TBR is called The Fate of Stars by S.D. Simper. And it's a sapphic romance, or maybe one of the characters is non-binary. You'll have to forgive me if I get that wrong. One of them is a mermaid, and the other is so
Interesting. We definitely need more LGBTQ plus fantasy romance.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a YA graphic novel that I just picked up that's like that. Ugh. I was picking up. What was I picking up? I have two. One sec. I was picking up the second Lore Olympus, and the girl at the bookstore was like, "Oh, if you like that, you're gonna like these." So this one is called Coven by Jennifer Dungan, and it's a sapphic witch romance. So she's like a fire elemental, and it follows her coven, and I think it's poly. I think it is. I think she's in a relationship with everyone in her coven.
Cool.
And then this one is Girl from the Sea, and it's a YA sapphic romance, and it's a mermaid and like a human.
Oh, cool. You'll have to let me know how those are, because I love graphic novels.
Yeah, the girl at the bookstore like highly recommended them. I was like, okay, give them to me.
Cool. All right. Well, guess we can wrap up this live show. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you all so much for being co-host with me. This was just a really, really fun time. And I can't believe January is over now. Like,
ugh, I know.
What is going on? All right. Like, yeah, that's where we are. But yeah, I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of their day, rest of their night, weekend, all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.